Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience episode number 269. Our guests have sent us so much swag, books, and giveaways this year. I can't wait to announce our monthly winner. So if you want exclusive content delivered right to your inbox and to enter into our monthly drawing, go to drfrancesrichards.com and subscribe to our mailing list. That's drfrancesrichards.com. drfrancesrichards.com. That's drfrancesrichards.com and subscribe to our mailing list. We promise we will not spam you or sell your information. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black entrepreneur experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. With more than 15 years of experience in wine, spirits, and luxury hospitality communications, she is now CEO of Curated virtual event company, Virtual With Us. Welcome, Alex Schrecengost.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
I've given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with us what you'd like them to know about you and your company?
Absolutely. So I'm Alex Schrecengost. I'm the founder and CEO of Virtual With Us. I started in the wine and hospitality industry overall on the communications and marketing side. So really my focus was on fine wine and rare spirits, as well as restaurants, high-end restaurants across the country and chefs, the James Beard Foundation. And so as I worked through my career, I noticed that there was not a lot of diversity within the hospitality industry as a whole, and especially in the wine industry. And when you look at, people of color, when you look at women, there's barely any. And so you walk into that room and you're usually the only one there like yourself, or there's one or two others there supporting you, and that's it. And you're walking in brave and with your head up, but it's overwhelming. And so my last job, I was the head of communications at fine wine importer Wilson Daniels, representing some of the best wines in the world. And at the height of the pandemic, I realized that there was a gap there in terms of inclusivity and in terms of being able to have those interpersonal relationships and connections that you would professionally, because people were struggling and they were at home and didn't know what to do in order to maintain their business. And I resonated with that. I saw that. And on top of that, a lot of my friends, colleagues, classmates, because I am in the WSET program, that these friends of mine who were in the hospitality industry, working the floor at restaurants, were all furloughed. And so I decided to marry the worlds together of doing events, professional events, and bringing in wine and spirits, and really cultivating fun, casual, social environment virtually. And we've also recently launched Culture With Us, which is an extension of the Virtual With Us programming, which has hybrid and in-person for corporations that are comfortable. But these are really curated experiences for the age of remote. And it was inspired by a drive to reconnect with our professional culture, a way to encourage togetherness across teams so that people don't feel like they're in a silo and that they're lonely. It really is reinforcing professional relationships as a whole and the flow of business conversation, which is so, so important in general as we continue to evolve the office culture.
What was that aha moment that you knew you were on to something?
Well, I think when I first started, I said, this is crazy to do in the middle of a pandemic. And then I thought, we can provide something that's thought-provoking and interactive. And my aha moment was when I was testing it out for a gala, and we had, 40 sommeliers in 40 different breakout rooms and over 400 people virtually, and all planned virtually. And I just saw the connection that you can make with people all over the world, and we support global organizations. We work with partners around the world to host and fulfill events in all 6 populated continents. And that was really my aha moment, was that event. When I saw how much fun everybody was having, I realized that seeing them at an in-person gala and going to a restaurant will never be the same, and it won't replace that. But this allowed people to really have that social interaction at a time where they were having difficulty or they were sad because they hadn't seen their colleagues and their friends. And it allowed people to feel included in a way and really being able to be part of something. So that gala was my aha moment where I said, I think we have something here, and let's just kind of run with it and see what happens.
What is the best decision that you've made as a leader?
I think the best decision I've made as a leader is understanding that I can't always run. So, as we're working with some incredible organizations that want to back us up and support a company run by a woman of color, we have Johnson & Johnson as one of our largest clients. It's really understanding our limitations and ensuring that there's success for my team and for the clients, and making sure that we're providing the service that they want and that they need. So understanding the limitations is really where I think I've really grown a lot in the past year, and realizing where I have to say no and where I'm like, you know what, let's take a chance. Let's check this out. I think we can do it.
What would you say your zone of genius is?
Me in particular, I would say it's the organization of events. I love, communications will always be my first love, marketing, and just really helping to build brands. And I will always love that. People still ask me to help with those things. And I'm like, you know what, we're busy at Virtual With Us. I can't. But the thing is, I love hosting and making people feel special and having everyone gather in some capacity and tasting really great wine. And I think that's my sweet spot, is just understanding people's comfort level. I'm an observer by nature. So I kind of sit and mull over and see what will make that person happy. What kind of experience will they have? And then building out that experience for those people. So I like to think that that's my sweet spot.
Alex, what are you most grateful for right now in your life?
Well, my husband and my children, of course, but the Virtual With Us family that I've built separately is something I couldn't have even dreamed up 9 months ago when I started this. It was just me. And then it was, Sue, who's our operations and logistics manager. And the two of us were just kind of running. And now we've turned into a team of 9 with 15 contractors and partners all around the world. And I couldn't have dreamed that up. And I am so grateful for everyone who thought, let's take a chance on Alex and her team. Let's support Virtual With Us. I've had support across these large corporations that said, you're it. We're working with you always and forever. And I'm so honored that they're entrusting us with working with their teams and building out experiences for their teams, especially because of how everyone is feeling and because of the cultural aspects of, organizations and having to make those shifts with, some people in the office, some people remote, some people hybrid, and they're entrusting us with that and in helping to support and develop those programs. And it's really beautiful to see.
Give, get. What do you want to give and what do you want to get?
What I would like to give is really people the opportunity to have inclusive programs. So inclusion and diversity is a very big thing for me. I think across the board, there's a lot of organizations that are doing it right, and there's a lot of organizations that aren't. And it really does make a difference for your everyday when you're working, when you're commuting, when you're on Zoom calls all day long. And so what I want to give is I want to give support. I want to make sure that the HR teams, the culture teams, and the sales teams that are entertaining their prospects, that they have our support there and that they are able to build out programming to really make everyone feel included and not alone. Because the one thing that this past year has taught us is to really not take things for granted. What I would like to get is probably more partners globally so that we can reach people all over the world in a larger capacity. We've been able to expand to Europe and to Asia, which is incredible. We're doing a lot in Canada and Latin America. And I think just seeing the fact that there were colleagues that didn't get to see their colleagues in Africa or see their colleagues in the UK because they were in the US more than once a year, if at all. And through our programming, they get to see them a few times a month. That means a lot. And so I would like to try and figure out, logistically how we can support more of the global organizations so that they can continue to do that.
The word is listening. What is that resounding sound or message that your generation is saying that we should be listening to?
It's the inclusion and diversity aspect of it. It's really understanding it's about the gap. And a lot of people don't want to have that conversation, and not a lot of people understand where we're coming from, a gender race gap, and there always has been. And I think now there's been empowerment, and now people are shouting from the rooftops even more to really have people take the time to learn and understand, which is the first step, because ignorance is bliss, as one would say. If you're ignorant to it, you don't know that it's going on. And once you listen and once you learn and ask questions, I think that will help to close the gender and race gap.
What can we do right now to support Virtually with Us?
Well, I would love advocacy, honestly, which is what we've been receiving thus far, just sharing the news of our company around to other organizations. We've had such wonderful supporters and groups and teams that are like, you know what, we're only working with the Virtual with Us team, and that's great. And I extend all of our partners, our incredible small business owners that I've learned to, I've really grown with and maintained relationships with throughout the year. Whether they're female run, whether there's just a lot of diversity across the ownership, across the board. And it's really important to me that I continue to support small businesses, and they are helping us to fulfill for all of our events. And I continue to do that. So any support in terms of advocacy helps the greater good and the larger community that we're working with.
What problem exists today that you would like to solve?
I mean, I think when we go back to corporate culture, and when we go back to looking at the diversity and inclusion aspect of it, there's a lot of bullying in corporate America that takes place that is so hurtful. And whether it's intentional or not, it's just how they were taught to treat other people. And I don't know that me saying it to you today is going to fix that. And we have a long road ahead of us for that to even be near fixed. But it's something I want people to be a little bit more aware of, because it really does impact mentally, emotionally, physically someone, and it drains you and it makes you not want to work. And it's something that really hurts, and it hurts a lot of people. And I've seen folks that I respect and love that have been treated in that way. I myself have experienced that in past lives, and it's something that I want more professionals to be aware of, that bullying is unacceptable. And I mean, it's unacceptable in general, and it happens even when you're a grown up, sadly.
Talk about raising capital. How did you raise capital or fund your company?
So we've not raised capital just yet. We've been self-funded, and I'm grateful for it. And it's due to all of the great support and the growth plan we've put together. In the future, that is something that we're looking for. And so what I've been doing is networking with other communities and other CEOs to really see how their vision was at the beginning, what their plans were for growth. I'm sitting here doing forecasting on a weekly basis to determine staffing and to see where we're at with a number of our organizations and clients, and how we can continue to grow that aspect of things and really determine the best route for the company. I want to make sure we grow in a healthy manner. And like I said, I don't want to run to a place where we're not ready for. So I'm just kind of taking it in stride, and I'm a planner. So I plan everything pretty diligently, and I'm just trying to figure that out. But with the continued support of the community, we've been just getting a lot of great clients. And so we've continued to stay self-funded for the time being.
What do you need right now that you don't have to move the needle forward?
Automated technology systems for the global aspect of things. We've started to invest in some of those resources. Some of them don't even exist yet for the type of model that we have, because we really disrupted, wine, spirits, cheese, and charcuterie. I mean, our offerings are all over the place. And again, we're supporting these global organizations, and a lot of folks have not had the chance to get there yet. And we're there. And so strategically, I'm trying to figure out what kind of systems we can put in place to better support the growth of global organizations and working with them to do their events.
Is there a social cause connected to your company?
At the moment, we're actually researching a number of organizations that we want to support. So at the time, personally, we do have social causes that we work for. We're currently looking at Wine Unify, which supports diversity and inclusion and people of color in the wine industry through scholarships, through really providing funding for entrepreneurship. Because we just started as a company 9 months ago, this is something that now for our 1 year, we're going to be announcing. So I'll hopefully be back here to chat with you and to share the news when that rolls out.
Thank you for that. Alex, there are so many brands and businesses that are dominating. Talk about a brand or business that's dominating that you admire and why.
So the Mcbride Sisters, I've had a passion for. I had the pleasure of hearing them speak on a number of occasions and seeing their interviews. And really their story is quite beautiful because they're two women of color that are sisters that did not know each other. And their father on his deathbed wanted them to meet each other. And so they found each other and they started a wine import business. And as I said, there's very little diversity in the wine industry. And the fact that these women started an import business to help fund their wine brand that they later started. And then they are now really shouting from the rooftops and being advocates. They're doing, they have a She Can program. So yes, she can, which is in an effort to really close that gap that I was talking about, the gender and race gap, and to award and empower women through scholarships, and to also help Black women-owned businesses through grants and a variety of services. And what they're doing is so beautiful. And I was researching the fund because we were looking for what to do with our organization. I wanted something powerful when we do launch something to ensure that we're supporting professional women and professional women of color in male-dominated industries. And I saw that they were doing this, and I'm just in awe of everything that they do. And I also am a huge fan of their wines. So I do actually use quite a bit of their wines in our programming, including their Chardonnay and their Brut. But this is just, these two women are wonderful, and they support across wine and spirits, hospitality, and finance for professional advancement and career growth. And that's something that really resonates with me and the route that I want to take. So I essentially look up to what they do and see it as a point of guidance.
Wow, thank you for that shout out. I want you to have a monologue, and I want you to name the person that you're talking about or to, living or not. This person has inspired you so much. Who's that person?
My grandfather.
And what are you saying?
My grandpa Andrew is in his 90s, and he has been through so much as a man of color who's very tall, who for some reason people in the past have found him fearful. And he is the most kind-hearted, soft-spoken man. And his story is just beautiful. I have him sit with my 6-year-old twins and just tell them everything that he's seen and experienced in his life. He worked for such a long time and didn't really truly retire. And he was always a man of service. He worked at an airport, and he would take everyone's luggage to the plane. And he always had his engineer cap and his Jack Daniels every day. And he later on in his late 20s, early 30s, married a white woman who is my grandma Ann, as I know it. And it was, illegal in New Jersey for them to be married, and they left the state because they were scared that they were going to be arrested. And he's just the most inspiring person to me. And I remember when I told him, Grandpa, I know you might be upset that I'm leaving corporate America, because he was always so proud of my job and education, but I'm starting my own company. And he goes, I'm so proud of you. He said, that is the best thing you can do. You work for yourself, you work hard, and you make it big, Alex. And so he's somebody that inspires me every day, and someone I very much look up to. And I'm happy through this pandemic that we thankfully still have him, and that he was vaccinated, and that he's still chugging along, complaining with his engineer hat. And so he's someone I look up to, and I continue to work hard every day. And it's because of what he did and how he inspired me.
Talk about business continuity. What is your highest risk as a business owner?
Highest risk is working with all of our vendors across the world and maintaining quality. Really, it's important because it's something that goes to so many people, and it's quality control across the board. And so we work very hard and stay very close contact with all of our partners, which, as you can imagine, is pretty extensive and time consuming. But it's something that's very important to me to ensure that the quality of what people are receiving, what they're consuming, is always there. And that's something that I'm never going to back down on. It's something that we're going to continue to improve on and reinforce on an ongoing basis and for years to come.
Talk about your top 2 influencers or mentors, and what lessons did they teach you?
So I have quite a few. I have Nils Naren, who is a world-renowned chef. I met him. I was doing PR for the French Culinary Institute, and he was one of the deans. And I remember we had a photo shoot, and it was the first time I met him, and he was looking for lemons, and he needed lemons to look a certain way. He's been inspiring to me on the hospitality side because he helped me to really understand how everything works operationally in a restaurant or in a hotel, and really understanding all of the details that go into that. And I think the attention to detail that I put into the business today, and he's still a confidant and a mentor, goes back to all of the counsel that he gave and all that he taught me and all that I saw him do in terms of structure, in terms of the quality control, in terms of offerings. So he's someone that I very much look up to every day, and I'm very grateful that he takes a lot of time out of his year to speak to me and mentor me and help me through any phase of my life, but especially as I've launched this business. And then separately, Amy Wilkins, who is the senior vice president at the Smithsonian. And I was at a networking event, and there was an auction for senior leaders. And I thought, I'm going to bid on this. It was, they said anywhere between $5 and $20. And I was in my early 20s. I bid on Amy, and I got lunch with her, and we just connected. And from then on, she would meet me on a monthly basis and give me advice and counsel on being, a working wife and a working mother, and also being at the top of my game or not, and just really how to manage, how to run an organization. And so those 2 people have really impacted how I run the business today and how I work with my staff.
Talk about self-care. What does self-care look like for Alex?
Self-care is all about balance, and it's something that I push for at Virtual with Us and Culture with Us. The team, we have the work from anywhere model. And so, of course, we're going to do in-person activities and things, but I want people to have balance where they can spend time with their family, where they can have me time, where they can have a brain break, and they're not always on 24/7, because you are not at your best if you're always on, because your mind does need to rest. So, care for me is when I have that balance, and I believe I have that now. And it's something that I always push out to my team, to shut off on the weekends and be with my children and go to their soccer games, to, get up in the morning and exercise and go out for a walk in the morning. My husband and I just got back before I got on with you, to eat a healthy breakfast, and then to really dive into work, to not rush through everything and really appreciate the work that I do have. And this is one of the first times where I've really felt that. And I'm really excited that this is what I'm building for the team. And I hope they feel the same way and will continue to improve. But that's important to me.
What book would you recommend and why?
So I had recently reread Michelle Obama's book, and I know that's kind of a standard response. But the reason I say this is because a lot of what she says is not only awe-inspiring, but thought-provoking and really relatable. She's very raw and real in her books, in her book. And it's something that I read it for the first time, and I needed to sit with it a while. And I had my opinions and thoughts on the book. And then I read it a second time, and I really just appreciated everything that she shared. But separately, I also resonated with a lot of how she felt and what she was writing. And that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you read the book and it's like, okay, that was great writing, or that was a beautiful story, but it doesn't always sit with you as I can relate in some way. And it almost made me feel like I could relate in some small way to how she was feeling in certain instances in certain parts of her life. And so I really, really, truly enjoyed reading her book.
If someone wrote a book about you, Alex, what would the title be and why?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard question. That is something I will have to sit with. I don't know that I can respond to, but I know that if someone wrote a book about me, I would want the whole story from when I was a child to now, because it really gives a larger understanding of my thought process and why I think the way that I think, or why I am the way that I am in terms of, my type A personality. I lived in Puerto Rico until I was 6 and didn't know how to speak English when I came to New Jersey. And I just really, it affected me in a way that I wanted things to be a certain way, and I wanted to give a good impression always. And I was very nervous, but I put myself out there. And I think a lot of that will factor into whatever that book is. But that is a hard question. I'll have to come back to you on that one.
What is something that we should know as consumers about your industry that we don't know?
I think that there's a lot of misconception on, while it's wonderful and fun and enjoyable, the parties, I think there's a misconception that people in PR and communications and marketing, but also event planners, really just spend a lot of time partying. And the other side of it is that we spend a lot of time planning. As a personality, we all want to ensure that everyone has a great experience as hosts almost, but we're not the traditional host in that sense. And we want to make sure that things run a certain way. And I don't know that everyone fully understands or the amount of work that goes behind the actual planning and execution of those events. So I'm grateful to the team for that.
What is your biggest win this month?
My biggest win this month was that we launched WLI Awake for Johnson & Johnson, which is their Women in Leadership Committee. And the Awake program is screenings on social impact issues for females globally. And we were honored that we were chosen to be the curators and the program directors for that event. And by curators, we put together boxes of inspirational food items that really were a testament to the films that they were watching, and to really help inspire and educate women on a variety of social impact issues. And so that was a very big deal and very big moment for our little team here that we got to do that.
And how do you celebrate your wins?
I sent the team wine, and we all got on a call and we had a toast, and it was just a very big deal. But celebrating wins, we just essentially, it's something that as a team, we get together every Friday and talk about all of the great work that we did that week, the grind, any issues that came up in any ways that we could have better improved. And then we'll just celebrate and cheers at the end. And we do that every Friday. We call it water cooler. And it's just something fun. So that's how we celebrated that day.
Talk about your worst moment in business or life, and what was your takeaway?
I went through a pretty terrible bullying experience, and I couldn't understand why I would be treated that way in a professional setting. And so the takeaway, and as I went on to jobs and work through it, was that really I'm a lot stronger than I thought, but that I'm not going to respond to it. I think a lot of people, their automatic reaction, I was angry, but after some time and reflection, I realized I'm not going to respond to it because that's what they want. And I don't deserve to be treated that way. So there is no response really anyway. And I guess in a sense, you should always share to your HR departments or whomever how you're feeling and what's happening. But it kind of got to the point in the end where I felt sorry for them that they needed to do that. And I came to realize in my head that it perhaps was a racism issue, and I wasn't going to stoop down to that level. And so it took me a long time, but I eventually moved on from it. And I think I grew a lot from the experience.
Talk about your most memorable moment in life or business.
Giving birth to my twins was probably the most memorable moment. The doctor actually only saw one baby when I went to my first appointment. And then 4 months later said, whoops, there's two. And so the most memorable was just the experience of it all. It was our first children, and we thought we were having one, and having two there, and trying to navigate parenthood and working. It was fun, crazy, exhausting. There were lots of tears, but it was also just an incredible experience. So that's by far the largest. And then the second would be starting this company, because I didn't know what this would be.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What, if anything, keeps you up at night?
Deliveries, orders, logistics right now. And we're getting so much stronger every day, every week. And we're so good at it. And it's just something that I need it to go off without a hitch. And that just doesn't happen in real life. Sometimes there are glitches, and the clients actually never know. We always troubleshoot on our end, and it's always done. And it's such a fun event. But behind the scenes, we're trying to figure it out. And so that tends to keep me up at night, but it's keeping me up at night a lot less now that we've started to get into our groove.
And what do you see as the next for your business?
So the Culture With Us platform that we've just recently launched is now pushing out really the inclusivity and the diversity within the organization. So the Virtual With Us component was really those curated programs. And then I started to see we needed to help build culture building programs to strengthen interpersonal relationships, to express mutual appreciation to a number of colleagues, and to really help companies successfully as they transition to the remote or hybrid model with the work from anywhere, and with folks going in, 2 days a week and 3 days a week they're at home and so forth. And we wanted to do it in a proactive and organized way. So that's the missing link, is the Culture With Us component, which is going to be the specially curated program with experiences. And so we're going to expand those experiences throughout the country. We're going to really bring back the traditional retreats that once existed in a way that's for the new world, and also redefine corporate gifting. So corporate gifting is our next and last pillar in part of the Culture With Us, Virtual With Us component. And it's really to show employees around the world how companies feel about them, and really to be thoughtful about it, because we want it to be special. That mission is really to help retain the unique identity that has been developed over the years in the office and after hours through interactions, and to embrace individuality and inclusivity and freedom. Because this freedom is something that, I think a number of employees have announced they're going to run with, employers, I should say, and a number of employees are really excited to have that, because it'll create that balance and that self-care. So the corporate gifting and the experiences are really going to help round that out and help bring everyone together.
So how do you feel about who you have become?
I feel that I've come a long way from the timid person that I used to be, or little girl, but I was a timid person for a while and shy and wouldn't speak up, to leading this company. And I'm proud that I've continued to do that. And I still have a lot of growing to do as the CEO. And so I'll just, continue interviewing other CEOs and leaders and learning from them and getting their guidance, and speaking to organizations to see how they're running things culturally to better improve our culture on an ongoing basis. And, I'm proud of myself for what I've done, because I was a very shy person, and I would have never a few years ago just leaped out of corporate America to start this. And I did that. And that was a very huge moment. I cried that day a lot. But it was a cry of joy of, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Alex, talk about that moment and that story, and someone's listening and they're like, I need to cut the cord from the corporate to go to entrepreneurship.
So it was hard. I thought about it for a while, and you get into your comfort zone and you have your salary and your 401k. And I was like, I have my family and I don't know that I want to do this. And really, no matter how, and my husband was very supportive and he said, just go. But no matter how much support you have around you, you have to be at that point inside. And it's really, I had that moment where you're just sitting there, and I took some time for myself for a few hours and I was writing and the ideas were flowing. And I was like, can I do this? Can I not do this? Can I do this? Can I not? And you're back and forth. And then you just have that moment where it's like, I'm just going to go. Let's just do this. What's the worst that can happen? And I think a lot of people think the worst that can happen is the worst thing in the world. It's not. The worst that can happen is your company fails and you have to go back to corporate America because you're more than capable of, right? Or your company is incredibly successful and you have people wanting to invest in it, or your company is a small to mid-sized company and it stays that way, but it's great. There's different things that can happen, but there's certainly not the worst things that can happen in the world. And I mean, I think doing it during the pandemic when everything around was hurting and we were missing our family and our friends and seeing so many people close to us that were sick, you just think, this is my shot. You just have to go and do it. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so just go.
What is your weakness as an entrepreneur?
My OCD. I would say, I need things to be a certain way. I have always had trouble delegating, and I've started to realize I cannot do everything. And I trust my team wholeheartedly. And the thing is, I've started to see myself slowly. I'm like, you know what, you guys, you can do this. And this came, I wasn't feeling well for 3 days. I had just a spring cold and the company still ran. And I was like, okay, it can go with or without, and not in the sense that, not that it'll be without me, but I said it can go, and the clients were happy and the events ran successfully and the team was doing it. So I think that's my biggest weakness, was realizing that. And it took me getting sick to see it.
Alex, talk to a younger you. What advice would you give to a younger you?
Speak up more and be brave. I think I was in my shell a lot. And this has shown me that you can come out of your shell and you can show your true colors and you can lead and be strong and just move forward with how you feel. Go with your gut. And the younger me would not have.
Advice you wish you had followed?
I wish that I had followed probably the fact that I can't do everything where you get to the burnout, because I got to the burnout. And everyone told me, mentors told me, you can't do all of these things and you can't be everything to everybody. And I always thought that's just a saying, and I need to do this. I want to learn. And it's good to have the enthusiasm to learn, but I wish I had followed that and not gotten to a burnout level.
If you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question and answer it.
So I guess the one question that I would ask myself is, where do you see the company evolving in terms of supporting the community and supporting your staff and corporations? Because cultural organizations and programs are going to change drastically, and they have already. And so to that, I would say the largest thing is really supporting small businesses, supporting entrepreneurship, supporting really and guiding and mentoring young professionals that are coming in, especially young women of color, that I can say, I relate to you, I can see you, I know where you're coming from. And these are the things that you may experience or not, but this is how to navigate with some key pointers, and then telling them, to kind of figure it out from there. And then in terms of the evolution of the business, I really see a great opportunity for culture in a way that is so inclusive, and it can be. It's going to be a long time coming in, and it's a long road, but culturally within an organization, I do see the evolution happening now. And it's really awesome to see that people don't want to get to that burnout level. And I want to help companies so that employees do not get there. So they don't get to the point where it's just miserable and they don't love their work anymore.
We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Fun Facts Lightning Round. I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I want you to give me very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
I am ready.
Your first job.
Oh, my first job, I was a chiropractic assistant.
Your favorite color.
Green.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Avocado.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Oh, that is probably, I was always a Whitney Houston fan, so we'll kind of stick that route.
Your favorite dance song?
Well, let's see. There's a Mark Anthony song, and it's a cha-cha, and it's essentially a salsa song, and I dance to that every morning with the boys.
Your favorite month?
My favorite month is June because it's not ridiculously hot yet in New Jersey, and I feel like it's perfect and the weather is beautiful and I don't have my spring allergies in June.
The last movie you saw?
The last movie I saw was Raya and the Last Dragon on Disney Plus.
You relax doing what?
Meditation.
Workout or hit the couch?
Workout.
Alex, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, why don't you share with our audience the best way for them to connect with you and to do business with you? And feel free to leave all your social media handles.
Thank you. So please reach out on virtualwithus.com, or you can email me personally, alex@virtualwithus.com, and I will get you looped in with the team and we can help you out. Social handles, Virtual With Us and Alex Schreck. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for having me on.
That's a wrap. You're welcome. Subscribe to our mailing list to receive weekly updates and exclusive content delivered right to your inbox. Go to drfrancisrichards.com. That's drfrancisrichards.com to subscribe to our mailing list and be entered into our monthly drawing. That's drfrancisrichards.com, drfrancisrichards.com to subscribe to our mailing list and be entered into our monthly drawing. We promise we won't spam you or sell your information.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.